Betty asked me to do this. I can tell you I'm not a professional speaker. I'm not really much of anybody. I think of Isaiah. This really is kind of an honor beyond anything I deserve. I thought of Isaiah when he said, I am undone. I might just quote this, but I'm a man of unclean lips. And I'm no different than you guys were in 1987, 1988 time frame when I graduated in 89. But because of the work that Paul started, it changed my life. Okay, I'm going to do my best not to get all gushy or anything. So what I want to say to you guys, because I'm not a good speaker, so I'm using the courage that Christ gives us and His Holy Spirit come before you and just share with you a little bit. And I hope and pray that there's not my words that y'all hear, but God's wisdom, Holy Spirit speaking through me. I'm reminded of, speaking of courage in Christ, anybody ever heard of Ben Carson? I'm curious if you guys know who Dr. Ben Carson is. No? My son does. Both of them do. Dr. Ben Carson is the world's most renowned pediatric neurosurgeon. Pretty smart guy. He's also a Christian. And he was debating on creation versus evolution. So some high scientific guy, talking about how there was a big bang from scientific theory and how we evolved from monkeys. And he said, I believe I came from God, and I believe you, and you believe that you came from a monkey, and you've actually convinced me that you're right. So I thought that was kind of funny. It takes conviction and courage. But so I'm going to use that today, and just start out by also telling you that it really is an honor, and I feel humbled to celebrate Paul's life on his actual birthday here on October 17th. Because of his ongoing ministry, when you think about what Paul did, we all have read the book of Greater Strength, and I think probably most of y'all can also quote some of the same statistics that I can. 6,270 pounds in a backlift, 1956, first American to ever win the gold medal. When you think about from the world's perspective what Paul accomplished and what he could have done with that, he could have went on, he did star in some movies. He could have went on to Hollywood. He could have went on and accrued riches for himself. And although the big house is a big house, I think we can all agree that in today's world, it's probably pretty humble considering what he did. And another thing I remember about Paul, and I hope I don't ramble, but I do, as I reflected, there was so much I thought I could say, is that when I first met Paul, I was like, oh, he's just some big, really strong guy. Paul was a brilliant man. It was Paul that first introduced me to the idea of free enterprise and politics and his writings. I just went back and I read a whole bunch of things in the Free Man's Press. There was an article how he was in Russia and he was talking to a Russian about how free enterprise actually allowed us to get, because he was talking about seeing a ballet on TV and the Russians laughed, well, this is the Tchaikovsky ballet, and why would you want to watch it on TV? And he said he noticed that their TVs, he said, and I think I'm quoting, you would need 2 TVs, like one for each eye. They were so small. And he said he exaggerates. We had TVs that, are this big. We do now. We have TVs much bigger than that, but not back in the 1960s. And he said, that's amazing. He said, why is that? He said, well, because in America, one guy will make a bigger TV, he'll make it cheaper, and then somebody else will come behind him and make it even bigger TV and make it even cheaper. That's how free enterprise worked. And this communist Russian guy was starting to buy in, and his other Russian guys were like, what are you doing? You're buying into, the great enemy that, the communists viewed us as. And I just thought it was amazing that this man was so strong and how he was given this great gift, and all he did was give back with it. He would travel sometimes and make 500 speaking engagements in 1 year just to raise money. So this home that you guys are now in, and I was once in, could be what it is today. So I'm here because Paul answered God's calling to not just do what the world would normally do with such great gifts, but rather he gave his life, all of it. His entire life was spent here doing what he could for boys just like you, for men just like me. And I want y'all to understand the gravity of that. Not the sacrifice he made, but I'm talking about the eternal return that lived. Here I am. I think we added it up. Did we say 26 years later? And I've got 2 great-looking kids. My dad's sitting back there. Their lives were all affected. My dad on the drive down here, he said, do you know that your brother said he became a Christian down at Paul Anderson Youth Home because he saw the change in her life? My brother. And that my dad kind of rededicated his life. My brother, my dad, my sister. I went on to college and I was the, I don't know what my title was, but basically I was outreach chairperson for the Baptist Student Union. I led a Bible study on my dormitory. I went to a reunion a couple years back, and I remember distinctly we were doing a retreat. It was Panama City. We were college kids, right? So we go down there, we do skits and things. On the way down there, I was keeping a prayer journal, and I'm going to make this story short, but it's impactful to me, and I hope that you guys will get what I'm saying, because this is the long-term, eternal impact that Paul made, and it keeps on going. It doesn't stop with me. It doesn't have to stop with you. The girl came up to me, and I kept a prayer journal during this thing, and I said, God, I really want to change somebody's life for Christ, and I expect you. I was praying like I'd never prayed before. I was expecting you. I know you're going to do something great. And I ended up talking to this guy, went to this guy on the beach, and I kind of thought that was it, and but I felt like it was not what I knew God could do, and it's not that I lost faith. I knew, so I just knew in my heart that seed was going to be something great, and I just didn't get to see the fruits of that until I went to a reunion. And a girl came up to me who was much younger than me. She was probably 2-3 years. I was like a senior or something. She comes up to me and she says, Jim, do you remember in Panama City when you came up and sat down next to me when I was sitting outside my hotel room, and I was like, vaguely, and I couldn't even remember her name. I still can't remember her name, and it's so sad. But it doesn't matter, because it wasn't what I was doing. It wasn't about me. She said I was going to kill myself that night. And she was dead serious. And she remembered me, and it was such a big event in her life because it was real. She was really going to take her life. And I sat down, and I didn't know. I just thought she looked sad, and she was actually a cute girl. So here I was, not even doing it for the right reasons, but I prayed in faith, and such a faith that I knew God was going to do something amazing. I didn't have to see it. I won't have to see what God does in y'all's lives. But if you'll let him, he will. I've gotten way off course on this, but... So, with that said, God says in Luke 6:38, it says, for if you give, you will get. Your gift will return to you in full and overflowing measure. Pressed down, shaken together to make room for more and running over. Whatever measure you use to give, large or small, will be used to measure when it's given back to you. Paul gave big. But I think that that's not even good enough, because when you think of that, you're like, oh, people give to get back. That's not the principle here. I think the principle is better stated in the principle of sowing. I think the principle of sowing says a lot to us. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. And I wrote, actually, I don't have to write anymore, which you can actually just print things. But I printed off 5 principles of sowing. And I want y'all to think about these, because whatever you sow, it's a choice. You choose to do what you do. You can choose to sow good seeds. You can choose to sow bad seeds. But it's your choice and your choice alone. And sowing is work. It's an investment. A farmer gets his seeds. He has to have the knowledge to do it. He has to plant them in the ground, and he has to work hard, water them. So you choose what you sow, and you have to work at it to get it to grow. And you will reap what you sow. Whatever seeds you put in the ground, they're coming up. If you plant tomatoes, they're going to be tomatoes. If you plant corn, it's going to be corn. It's not rocket science. You're going to reap what you sow. It's simple enough. God says it. I believe it, and I've lived it. When I've sowed bad seeds, and I've sowed many bad seeds, not just before I came here, after I came here too. I'm no glorified, perfect Christian. None of us are. And I've heard people say that before, but it's not a measure of how many times you mess up, but how many times you mess up and say, I'm not going to mess up again. And each time you say no to something, a choice that you make that you know you're not supposed to make, it gets easier to say no. But I can tell you the principle that saying yes to it makes it easier to say yes again and again. But you're going to make that choice. So you're going to reap what you sow. You're also going to reap after you sow. So when you make bad choices, you might not see the results of those. If I plant a crop today, I'm not going to immediately go out, dig it out of the ground tomorrow. It's going to be a different season, but it will come later. Just like in your life, the choices you guys make as young men, it's not going to happen right now. If you make good choices, you might not get immediate results. Living the Christian life is not a instantaneous gratification thing. It is a patient one. You make the right choices. You're also going to reap more than you sow. And I've lived that life, and since I've come back, I've made a lot of since I graduated, I've made a lot of mistakes, and those mistakes sometimes were very costly to me. I wish I could go back and change them. I couldn't, but they've helped make me who I am. Those mistakes that I've made, I can promise you that if you want to talk to me afterwards, and I hope one of you will, but I'll be honest with you and frank, and I'll tell you about the bad decisions I make. I'll tell you what the results were. I'm not going to broadcast them here, but I can be transparent enough about my life because God's grace has so superseded the stupidity in my life. And I'd be glad to share that with any one of you guys. It would be my honor. So the principles, so you're going to choose what you sow. You're going to have to work at it. You're going to reap what you sow, good or bad. You're going to reap more than you sow, and you're going to reap later than you sow. So I want to give, I've been talking about giving back. I want to give you guys some advice, the young men that are here. I can promise that whatever struggles you've had on the day that you graduate, if you're strong enough, it's not an easy program. I know you've lost a lot of boys recently. I know a lot of you guys are new. If you're strong enough, and I don't mean physically, I mean mentally and spiritually, make it through this program, you will be given an amazing gift. And you'll have something you can be very proud of. John Coleman and Keith, I know they're proud. But we also mourn, if you will, we're sad by the ones that took that gift and threw it away. What a shame. God did amazing work in their life because of Paul and Glenda's sacrifice, and Eddie and Betty's sacrifice, and Keith and Chrissy and all the different staff and the staff that are here today. And they took that gift and they threw it away. It breaks my heart because we live in a time, and I've heard people say this before, but I think it's more true than ever. There is a major spiritual battle going on. You hear the Supreme Court make decisions about abortions and marriage, and I don't know if y'all still watch the news every day. Do you? Do they get to watch the news?
Their choice. They don't choose to do so sometimes.
Well, the Supreme Court, did y'all hear about that decision around marriage? Redefining marriage. Our Supreme Court. Redefining marriage. Planned Parenthood. Did y'all hear about Planned Parenthood? I won't get into it, but let's just say that Planned Parenthood and what their main business is, and I think we all know what it is, has actually been taking organs of babies and selling them. That's going on. Our government funds that. It makes me sick. So there is spiritual warfare going on, and our country is one nation under God. But you guys are going to be the next generation, and I know that our country, as America, was founded on Christian principles, and a lot of those are eroding. You guys are the next generation. Y'all are our next hope. And if you live out the principles you're going to be taught here, America can be great. Y'all can make an impact on the world. But if you go back, and like I was saying, you're going to go back, and the same struggles are still going to be there. It's going to be really hard to say no at first, but it'll be easier and easier as it goes along. But if you say yes once, it's going to be easier and easier to say yes. And the world would love to drag you back, and it will if you let it. But it's going to be your choice. I was thinking about this, and I always think Jesus always taught in parables and analogies. I thought, I'm not a real smart guy, but I can look at who we know to be a really smart guy, and I can follow his example, right? What is happening in y'all's life right now is a lot like the yearly, bi-yearly thing I have to do at Red. I have to clean my garage out. It accumulates everything from kids' shoes to sporting equipment to golf clubs, to lots of dirt and bugs and dog hair and just stuff that you're like, ooh, what is that? I hate doing it, but I got to do it. Clean out the garage. What do I do? What's the easiest way? I move everything out of the garage. I pull it all out in the driveway. I clean it. I get it right, and I find out the stuff that's supposed to go in the trash. I take it out, throw it in the trash. I find out the good stuff that's valuable. I put it back in. I put it in neatly order. That is exactly what is happening in your lives here. Somewhat forcibly so, but all with your best interest at heart. Your garage is getting cleaned out, and there'll come a day that you're going to be the curator, the caretaker of your garage, and you're going to choose what stays in that garage and what comes back. It's really your choice. But the gift you're given is you're given a clean garage when you come out of here. I know this is a very simple analogy, but I think it holds up true. You're going to choose, am I going to keep it nice, neat, and orderly, because it's going to work a lot better that way, or am I going to put some of that stuff and let some dirt accumulate in it? And I hope that you'll follow Christ with all your heart, and it won't be easy. And the things that you're taught here, the practices, going to church, getting plugged in, finding not the friends you had before, but the friends that you can make in Baptist student unions, in Campus Crusade for Christ, and tons of Christian organizations. You can go online and Google Christian organization. When you get back to your hometown, and you'll find, some. Maybe you have a passion for snow skiing like me. I bet you can find a snow skiing Christian group. But it's going to be your choice. But before you make that choice, you got to make a much more important choice. And I don't know where any of y'all are spiritually. I've seen you guys, y'all polish manners as we're all trained to do, and you can say yes sir and no sir and yes man and no man. But I don't know your hearts. Only God knows your hearts. If you haven't given your heart, all of it, saying everything that you got yet, talk to a staff member, talk to me, whoever you feel comfortable. Don't wait to do it. It's the most important decision you'll ever make. And it will have an impact on eternity, not just on your life, your family's lives, but people that you never would have expected, like that girl down in Panama City. I'll close this out in prayer. Thanks for listening to me. Heavenly Father, you are an awesome God. I'm in awe of the work that continues to go on because of Paul Anderson's choices to give back, to pour his life into the lives of young men, to follow you with his whole heart, and with all the gifts that he was given, God. He chose to serve others and not himself. All because you are the Lord of his life. And you're the Lord of many people's lives in this. As we sit on the knoll right now and we honor Paul Anderson and his work. I was here when he was alive and would still preach, and his booming voice, God, I felt like it was your voice sometimes, God, and in a lot of aspects I know that it was. I was also here when he passed away, and I was here on the same grassy knoll as we said goodbye to Paul. And we know he's up there, God, now with you. And I pray each and every one of these boys will be up there one day with you, but they can't do that without first accepting the sacrifice your Son Jesus Christ made, because we can never be good enough to be in your holy presence, God, not without the blood of Jesus Christ. We thank you for the sacrifice that you made for us, so that we can be pure and holy as you are pure and holy, God. Help us to strive each and day to be more and more like Christ, and forgive us for all the times we're going to mess up, God. You know I do, and you know I will again. But I'm going to keep coming back to you, God,